Are we allowed to swear on this program or no?
I think so.
Okay, great. I guess the piece of advice is like something's gonna fucking go wrong, and you just and it's gonna go wrong every day. And you just have to remember that you're doing this for a reason. Operating a business is not so much about like the days where things are perfect, because perfection in business just doesn't exist.
Hi, everybody. Phil Toronto here, host of the Tartar Project, here with 1:37 p.m. and Robbie Salter, co-founder of Jupiter. Robbie, how are you this fine morning?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm so good. Better now that we are on video together.
Yeah.
Just real quick, this is a different format than I usually do. Can you give our viewers and or listeners a little rundown on what Jupiter is?
Yeah, of course. So Jupiter is the first elevated brand that targets scalp discomfort. So that means redness, dryness, dandruff, irritation, scaling of the scalp. And when I say elevated, I mean we're the first brand that looks good, smells good, and works really freaking well. Basically the new brand on the scene trying to take down um, the perception that a dandruff shampoo needs to smell bad. Instead, we've created a suite of products that look wonderful, smell wonderful, and are grown-up products for grown-ups.
It's never a bad thing to grow up. I like that you didn't say any of the brand names of the other guys.
Yeah.
So that was, I appreciate that. Keep
Some of them do a nice job. They're just not for our customers and not for the grown-ups that we're targeting. That's it.
That makes sense. What were you doing before you launched Jupiter?
Yeah, so I was in an entirely different industry. Taking maybe a step way back, out of college, I spent 6 years working in the film and television industry. So first for Jerry Bruckheimer, the producer Jerry Bruckheimer, and then a few more years working with another production company that's now called Whale Rock. After that, I got my JD and my MBA from Northwestern, and then eventually spent about 5.5 years working in media consulting. So working in a company called MediaLink, focused on the intersection of technology, entertainment, finance, and media. So,
yeah, pretty relevant.
Yeah.
How did you meet your co-founder?
Yeah. Once I started putting it out in the world that I was sort of looking for my next chapter, or thinking about my next chapter, I should say, I just had friends telling me about other people doing interesting things and working on interesting projects, or just people generally I should meet. A mutual friend connected me to Ross, my co-founder or my partner. And immediately we just knew that we had complementary skill sets. We had a similar mindset about what we wanted to build in a company. And call it about after a year of sort of kicking around some ideas and sniffing each other out, really, we decided to go ahead with Jupiter. As many people, I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of like really being sure about your partner. That in many respects, it's like getting married, frankly, and in some cases, it's even more intense than getting married, because with your marriage partner, you see them unfortunately at the end of the day, and you get sort of the in between moments. But with a business partner, you're spending the bulk of your day in the trenches with them. So it's really critical to find somebody that you gel with. And Ross has been awesome, and our partnership and friendship has grown tremendously since the first day we met.
Yeah, it's an insane amount of trust that you have to have.
For sure.
Do you have any sneaky questions or scenarios that you'll run potential partners through to kind of pass your sniff test and say, hey, I could maybe gel with this person, or I like the way they think about this?
It's a great question. Yeah, I mean, so we actually sort of ran a test with each other because of just that. Both of us had been in sort of previous quote unquote bad relationships, and what we wanted to do is really make sure that this was going to work. So we did two things. One was it was kind of obvious to me. I wanted my potential future business partner to meet my marriage partner. I wanted Ross to meet my wife, and we went and got a drink together, just us three, which some people may find that weird, but the truth is Ross is constantly going to be hearing about Caroline, and Caroline's going to constantly be hearing about Ross. So it's really important that they knew about each other and that they immediately supported each other. And then secondarily, after we sort of said to each other, like, okay, this is a business that we could theoretically start together. What are our goals, our shared goals in launching this business? And we had a really brutal conversation, right? It was just like, is money the most important thing to us? Is giving back to the world the most important thing? Is fame? Is ego? Like, what's really driving you? And we had to have this honest conversation, because frankly, if it wasn't honest, and flash forward 2 years and the company's doing really well, and there's only room for one person to go on the cover of Forbes, you kind of got to know the answer to who it's going to be. And in our case, it's neither of us. It would be something about our products or one of our customers. So those two things I think are critical. Is like, find out what are the 4 or 5 tenets of what you want your business to be, and also introduce your partner to somebody in your life that knows you really well.
I think that's great advice. And I want to jump back to the brutal conversation. I think it's much less brutal and much more honest, like you highlighted it. I think it's super important that you drill down on what actually motivates you as a human being.
Totally.
Because a lot of people probably aren't going to be honest about that. And
Yep.
you need your partner to be honest about that. It's key.
Yeah,
that's great.
Listen, you know this, man. It's like it's like war. You're going to be in the trenches, like I said before. You're going to be up really late. You're going to be up really early. My business partner and I sometimes find each other, DMing one another at like 5 a.m. because we just randomly get up with an idea because we saw something on a social media platform, and strangely enough, like it's probably within 3 to 5 minutes that one of us responds, like, and just knowing that other person is like constantly up thinking about your business and constantly thinking about how to improve. It just means everything to know that the other person is got those same motivations and are doing it for the same reason, and are rowing with you for the right reason.
Totally. So you met Ross, got the co-sign from Caroline.
Yep. That's all right.
How did you land on the product? What brought you to Jupiter?
Yeah, so the idea came to me after I'd already met Ross. We were both operating in our own worlds, and for me, that meant I was working at my job in consulting. And I had one of those moments where I was at my desk, sitting in my office, saying, like, what the heck am I going to do with the rest of my life? At that time I was 34, and I felt like now's the perfect time to take a swing, but I just don't have the idea. So I started scratching my head in sort of like nervous frustration and anxiety. And I looked down on my desk and saw a pile of dandruff. And I said, well, 1, this is disgusting, and I clearly have some hygiene issues. And 2, what do I do about it? It wasn't the first time that I'd gotten dandruff, but at that moment, it was like, it felt, really significant. So like most other people, I went to, the corner drugstore, looked at the options, and had no idea, why is this massive bottle of Head and Shoulders $9 and a tiny little bottle of Nizoral $14? Like, is the Nizoral more effective because it's, it packs more punch? It just seems super opaque. And also I started smelling them, which I shouldn't say, but I'm sure everybody does in the drugstore. I started smelling them, and they all smelled gross. So I decided to go across the street to a Sephora. And at that moment, I'm just like, I don't feel comfortable asking any of these like beautiful salespeople, about my, supposedly disgusting, condition, if you will. And I knew at that moment that not only were the products awful, but there was, the existing products awful, but that there was an opportunity to destigmatize the conversation entirely. I started doing a bunch of research, and I discovered, like, hey, this is actually super common. 50 to 75% of the world gets dandruff at some point in their lives, and 20% gets it chronically. And if I'm having this issue, then it seems like if I'm having this, frustration with the existing products that are on the market, a bunch of other people must be as well. So again, I looked into who owns the market share of this category, and lo and behold, there was a Goliath in the category that is head and shoulders. And I was unafraid of being David and saying, if we start from scratch with the best ingredients that smell good, that work tremendously well, and we change the packaging so you're not embarrassed to have it in your shower and you're not embarrassed to buy it, and it sort of fits what I think is the modern aesthetic of like minimal design, that just fits nicely into sort of a beautiful environment. It'll make me look more grown up, and I'll feel more grown up about what I'm putting on my head, and feel less nervous about the chemicals or the harsh, irritating ingredients that I'm putting on my head.
I think that's super important. I think that's also the third time that I've said that, driving home the importance. What are some other things that you're doing with the brand, with how you're messaging it, with how you're putting it into the world, that you're using to destigmatize a traditionally pretty stigmatized category? Because your initial reaction to your condition, as you said, was that it was disgusting.
Yeah,
and
totally.
it's not a hygiene issue.
That's exactly right. So a lot of this is about education, right? Like, we, as a general concept, right? Like, I think we often make prejudicial comments or assumptions about things that we don't know or aren't educated about, and that's why it's so important to get educated. And that's across the board on any subject. And in this case, it was the same thing. I said to myself, like, why is this happening to me? Did I not shower or something? We ultimately constantly come back to, it's just education. We need to share with the world that this is a lot like acne, in that what you eat, how you work out, how much you travel, the stress, the anxiety, all these external environmental factors can be a huge component of why you're experiencing dandruff. So that's one. It's just education purely about like why you're getting it. And then the second part is also realizing that sometimes it's just genetic, right? Like you're getting it because it's genetic. So, and I guess another sort of pillar of what we're doing is we're spending a lot of time thinking about fear-based advertising and how poorly the industry, how bad of grades they have, right? So if you look at the existing advertisements that are out there, it's all fear-based, right? It's all about, don't look like, I hate to say it, but some of the brands that I won't name, if you look back at their marketing from the 70s or 80s when they were really at their peak, they called you a loser for having dandruff, like literally calling you a loser. They are currently even running some ads on the internet and out of home that call you stupid for having dandruff.
That's wild.
It's bananas, and it still exists. And you can, I encourage people to share them if they feel it's important to share those ads. But the bottom line is, part of destigmatizing is also normalizing the experience by just talking about it, and by sort of diluting these harsh messages that we're getting with more positive, optimistic messages. So unlike some of those wholesaler or retail brands, we have customer support people who can help you think through, how do you get rid of, outside of just the bottle, how do you help alleviate some of the dry scalp or dandruff issues that you're having? People to talk to about what you're experiencing so you don't feel so alone. And then I think the final measure is that 5% of our proceeds go to mental health causes, 5% of our profits go to mental health causes. We've developed this mantra that we call 0 flakes given, which is this notion that we want you to feel comfortable with not only what's on your head, but what's in your head. There's a lot of mental health issues out there around bullying and hygiene and weight, and we don't want to be a part of that. We want to be part of the solution. So this notion of zero flakes given means you're living a life of perfect, being perfectly comfortable and being relaxed about who you are and what you stand for. So I hope that is a clear enough answer to, like, we're changing the entire conversation by not doing fear-based ads, by educating our consumers, and by making people realize that it's extremely common to experience what you're experiencing.
Super solid. I think for any entrepreneur or founder or anybody that's looking to apply that advice to your own brand, the importance of connecting with the customer at a deeper level and caring, walking them through how your brand can better their life, not just through your product.
Yeah,
totally. I think that's super important. And the education piece is huge.
Yeah, and I'll say that bit again. It's for somebody who clearly used to get dandruff, when you don't have it, it really does lift your spirits, changes your confidence, and it sort of opens you up to doing things that and looking at the world in a way that you historically wouldn't. It's just like any other insecurity, and our hope is that because we exist, you could live a more comfortable life, and that you can live a life of zero flakes given, focusing on something else that you give a flake about to be cheesy.
I love that. Cheesy is very much encouraged. I have 1.5 more questions, and then I'll let you get on your day. You launched about 4 months ago in June 2020?
That's right. Late May, like the last week of May. That's right.
And I'm not looking for the most important thing you learned. What was the most surprising piece of launch that you didn't expect that you can look back on and maybe take with another venture, or just give us a nugget of advice for something to look out for?
Are we allowed to swear on this program or no?
I think so. Okay,
great. I guess the piece of advice is, like, something's gonna fucking go wrong, and you just and it's gonna go wrong every day, and you just have to remember that you're doing this for a reason, and that operating a business is not so much about, like, the days where things are perfect, because perfection in business just doesn't exist. It's the days where you leave the office, or you walk home, or you leave your desk, and you say to yourself, that was an incredible challenge, or this is a challenge, and we'll get through it. Every day we're learning new positive things about how to talk to our customers, how to reach our customers, but we're also learning about all of the different holes in the boat that we have that need to get bailed out. So I think, in summation, the one thing that I've really learned is that you're never going to have a day without conflict. You're never going to have a day without issue. And just to embrace it versus fight it, because business really is about tackling challenges
and just approaching business with zero flakes given.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. You just got to have that positive attitude and realize that certain flakes matter more than others, man. That's it.
That's true. And now the half a question. Where can everybody find you or Jupiter on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us at HelloJupiter.com, where we've got a quiz that can help people get personalized solutions, or personalized recommendations, I should say, based on their own particular experience or condition. And then as well, you can find us on Instagram at HelloJupiter. On both our website and on social, we've got customer experience people, or customer support people, waiting to answer any questions that you may have about the company, our products, our position in the world, and also the contributions that we make to mental health causes.
Incredible. Robbie, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Talk to you later.
See ya.